And in Jakarta, a Japanese woman has opened a school to teach young Indonesians the basics of comic strip drawing. She wants to encourage them to develop their own homegrown style of manga.
Earlier this month, the Japanese manga artist offered a class in Indonesia. She hopes her lessons on Japanese manga technique will help nurture the next generation of Asian cartoonists. Here is a report from Jakarta.
Machiko has been living in Jakarta for 5 years now. She came to Indonesia with her husband who was studying here. Before leaving Japan, Mayayama was working full-time as a manga artist. And even after arriving in Jakarta, she has continued her hands-on involvement in this popular art form. She has been drawing a regular comic strip for a magazine back in Japan, describing her own experiences moving in and adapting to a different culture. At the beginning of this month, she opened a manga school, the first of its kind in Indonesia. Classes take place 6 days a week. They cover the fundamentals of manga art, how to draw the cells and how to build up the plot of a story. Each class lasts 90 minutes, and right now Mayayama is the only teacher. She decided to open a manga school in March of this year after she was asked to teach a seminar sponsored by a Japanese foundation. Some 200 people turned up for the seminar, and Mayayama was impressed by their desire to learn the art. But opening the school was much more difficult than she had bargained for.
This is the first ever manga school in Indonesia. I had to go to the Ministry of Education and Culture to get a license. But in Indonesian, the word manga means mango. Whenever I talked about a manga school, they just went, "What are you talking about?" I had to explain to them it was nothing to do with the fruit. The officials are all older people. They had no idea what I was trying to do. So I had to explain everything from the very beginning, like this is a kind of manga comic strip, and this is what I want to teach my students, and so on.
At last, 6 months after she first decided on the project, the school was finally opened. She spread the word through magazines and by word of mouth. A total of 60 people enrolled in the course straight away. Japanese manga have won a large following in Indonesia, and there are many young people in Jakarta who want to learn all about the art. The collapse of the Suharto regime 4 years ago has resulted in greater democracy and freedom, and many publishing restrictions have been relaxed. Japanese manga were translated into Indonesian, and they caught on fast because people here were hungry for entertainment. Now there's a growing manga boom. This is one of the largest bookshops in Jakarta. More than 600 imported Japanese manga books are on sale here. There are a few books drawn by local people, but about 80% of the manga titles sold at this bookstore are by Japanese artists. In terms of the power of expression and plot development, the strips written by the local artists just can't compete. Mayayama is hoping that her school will help to develop a whole generation of Indonesian manga artists. On this day, she visited the prestigious Trisakti University to talk to students who have formed a manga club.
The storylines in Indonesian comic strips aren't very interesting. I think that's because the writers don't have a clear idea about their themes and about their settings.
Most people here only draw manga as a hobby. I think it's very good that there's a school now where we can learn the art properly.
Mayayama received so many questions that she realized there was a need to teach people the very basics of manga drawing. Recently, she visited a publishing house that has been translating and selling Japanese comic strips. She was surprised to find out that many of them are adopting Japanese-sounding pen names.
Do they all give themselves Japanese names?
Yes, and there are many manga artists here who like to give their characters and settings a Japanese feel.
Up to now, the Indonesian artists have learned by copying the imported magazines, so inevitably they have been greatly influenced by Japanese manga styles. After talking to the students and the people at the publishing house, Mayayama was convinced more than ever that Indonesian artists should aim to develop their own styles of expression and storylines. Mayayama puts all her energy into her classes. She often stays up late into the night preparing for the next day. Mayayama's school has just opened, but she has set her sights high.
I'm Japanese, so I can only teach them how to draw Japanese manga. But I think it would be wonderful if one of these days they could look at the things that have always been here in Indonesia and then come up with original Indonesian manga. It would be even more wonderful if I could introduce those original Indonesian comics to Japan. I'm looking forward to that day.